Hey folks, welcome to another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous. This is your host, Bruce Hutchin. I'm heading out to Pennsylvania, and I'm going to hang out with the R2 guys. Who the heck's the R2 guys? Well, the Rut and the River Pursuit podcast with Ryan and Will. Hey guys, welcome to the show.
Hey, Bruce.
Hey, Bruce.
Thanks for having us.
Hey, yeah, and we've had a warm-up that lasted 20 minutes, folks, so I am cranking already. But I'm cranking because these guys, if you listen to any of my podcasts at all, these guys are right in my wheelhouse, right playing in the same sandbox. We're shooting the same stuff, catching the same fish. And if you go to the website, it's pretty small crappie and a so-so striper, and then they're fishing and they're hunting and they're just having fun. So Ryan and Will, let's talk about the first thing, R2. R2D2, or what are we talking about?
That's awesome. No, that's the Rut and the River Pursuits, and one of the things that when we started out as Posted Outdoors, and some people know about that. We did a lot of video stuff for I'd say the better part of a decade, and but we had to rebrand ultimately, and it took forever. We were back and forth. Everybody had great names and this and that, but we finally settled on Rut and River Pursuits, and that's because it literally encompasses what we do. We have 8 guys, and some people focus on fishing, some people are hunting. We have alpha male, super hunter catfish, and
everybody does have their special,ty
Everyone has their thing, that fly fishing guy, and we have new hunter, like a older new hunter, Phil, call him the blind shaman, because he's just always there for you.
Well, he is the self-proclaimed new guy, but the reality there is, new guy to maybe hunting whitetails, but he's an upland bird hunter. Right. From the Midwest, he's like legendary. I think I heard out there. Maybe new to whitetails. I'll give him that.
He's quick on the trigger when it comes to game birds. He's very quick.
Does he hunt with dogs? Do he have dogs, or does he walk up?
He used to, whenever he was younger, but now he's
got the other 7 guys on the podcast.
The other 7 guys.
Okay.
Actually, we have Jovi. Oh my gosh, Sean's dog. Yeah. So we do have one. We just hunted with her for the first time last year. So, but for the most part, it was just us kind of flushing for each other.
That's great, guys. Pennsylvania's a big state, and I gun hunt in Wisconsin a lot of years. And we got about 500,000 people in the field opening day of gun season. Now I know PA's got over 1 million people, guys, gals, kids, hit the forest. Tell me about that hunting tradition. Let's talk about that, because I live out in Colorado, and we got a lot of critters out here. I don't think all in maybe 500,000 people put in for tags, but they sure as heck don't hunt here. So let's talk about and unpack the PA hunting experience for the people, all around the Midwest and even out west and up into Canada, so they can understand what it's like to be a whitetail hunter in Pennsylvania.
Well, let's just get this off the table real quick. Out there in Colorado, you guys have all the sexy things, the big elk and the mule deer, and we definitely salivate over the number of animals, the opportunities that you have.
Speed goats.
I love antelope. But PA, it's no lack of opportunity, and you create it based on your parcel of, or where you're able to hunt, and there's a lot of public land opportunity, and for many of us, we have private land opportunity. You create that, it's an active kind of due diligence. Like, you got to go door to door sometimes, and you got to.
Yep. And it depends what you're looking for too. If you want that piece of private ground to hunt, that you can maybe manage it and do what needs to be done, maybe put in some food plots, you do need to knock on a few doors and ask permission. Now, Pennsylvania, especially different parts of the state, it's difficult. It's hard to get in somewhere.
Very competitive.
But what's wonderful about Pennsylvania is the amount of public land that's available between state game land, state forests. There's Allegheny National Forest. We have millions of acres. of public land available. And that's the other thing that's great about the group here with Rut and River Pursuit podcast is it's everybody's got sort of a different way of hunting, a different approach to it. I know I do probably about 75 to 80% of my hunting on public land. I do have one or two little small pieces that I keep my little honey holes just for when the rut's really starting to kick in, maybe. But yeah, it's different.
I don't hunt public land for the most part. Only a handful of times. Maybe once, 1 or 2 days I might jump on, but I'm pretty blessed with private land.
I don't think that there's anybody in Pennsylvania that would disagree with this when I say the world of the whitetail changes, though, that first Monday after Thanksgiving when that orange army hits the woods. It's different. It doesn't matter what you did. It doesn't matter that you've got, that 40 acres out back that you've managed and your food plot's full of deer every day. That sun breaks on that first Monday after Thanksgiving, and that first, just that, there it was, off in the distance, and it's on. You don't know what's going to come around the corner.
It could be. They don't pattern. They don't. You can still stick to the old basically like blackjack rules, but it's all it is blackjack. The same odds,
I just double down. It doesn't matter.
Just double down. The same odds. So you can't. There's no guarantees. They'll come. You can set up on them one way and they're going to come another. It's just there's too many people. They get pushed too much.
And Bruce, when you opened up the question, you were referring to some of the traditions maybe involved, actually that got me thinking too about you never know what direction you're going to be coming from, things like that. My uncle used to swear by the fact that if you wore your hat backwards, the deer know it, and they would actually come walking into you thinking that you were looking the other direction. and I'm telling you, he would wear he had one of those that was almost like a Elmer Fudd type orange hats with the fur. Flaps, and he would wear it backwards. And I told him, I said, it's not a baseball cap, right? There's no real brim on it. It's hard to see which way it's going. He goes, doesn't matter. They come in the right way when I turn it backwards.
That's awesome.
Oh, jeez. But think about that. How many deer do you have in the state? You got 1 million hunters. So how many deer do you have walking around?
I don't have a number. It's hundreds of thousands.
I think the harvest last season, the harvest report just came out, and I should know this better. I should pay more attention. But I think it was 300,000 was the harvest report, and some of that's estimated too, because not everybody fills out their harvest report card. Which if we could take an opportunity to let everybody know, they should definitely do that. Some states, of course, require it. I wish Pennsylvania would. It helps the biologists with the DCNR program and the Game Commission come up with their license allocations for the following season. So if you fill it out, the numbers will be considerably more legitimate, and they'll be able to do their job better.
Yeah. So okay, we got reported at 300,000, so that's 30%. Really, it's probably closer to 500,000 deer probably die, a year. And so what's your recruitment like? Are we shooting 1.5, 2.5-year-old deer, or do we find bucks that are 4.5 and 5 mature bucks?
Not a lot of mature bucks, not a lot. But it's actually, we have a rule now that the Game Commission instated it's 3 horns on one side. And that's actually, it's probably the 5th year now, going to be 6, I think.
Yeah, I think we're going into the 6th season.
And we're now starting to see bigger bucks.
For the record, that's 3 or more points,
right? Because
we know that deer don't grow horns, do we?
Right.
They grow antlers, don't they, Will?
They're antlers, and they drop them.
Horns.
Antelope have a hair sheath. Sheep have horns.
Yes. Oh, come on, Will.
Wah! No, that's a no.
Get your head here straight.
Kind of sheep. Come on, let's get serious, guys.
We're back on track. Thanks.
Yeah, come on. Okay, so I'm hunting in PA now. Some of those stone walls in PA were built in the 1700s, the American Revolution and all that. So on your farms or your places, do you build blinds out of stone and rock? Or tell me how you hunt these suckers.
Well, there's a pretty common, vernacular is not the right word, but there's something that's often said in Pennsylvania that PA deer walk around looking up. Because, and honestly, I swear to you, it's true. But most of the hunting, I would say, is done in Pennsylvania from tree stands.
Tree stands and
Yep.
and ground blinds, yeah. Whether they're man-made or the camo kind.
Yep. Now, if you could go back again to that point about traditions and things like that. You know, there's guys who still go out to Pappy's old rock and they'll sit on top of that rock or that tree stump that's been there for decades. But I would say easily at this point, 95% of the hunting is done from stands again, be it permanent or stuff that they're putting in.
Yeah, I mean, it can get pretty palatial. There's guys that build deer towers, that, and they hunt the 360 and it's, above the trees. I've seen some crazy stuff, but most of it's just, climbing the tree and setting up.
One of the guys in the property next to this small little piece that I saved for that first week of the rut, he's got I can't even call it a tree stand or a blind in the trees. It's just a house that he built basically on stilts. And he sleeps in it the night before opening day. You can actually go out there and you could see like a little light in the window, and he's got a little smoke rolling from some sort of camp stove that's in there. And yeah, some guys do it up, man.
I get that. One of my friends, I hunt his farm every once in a while. He has the office. So you go up a ladder, not a ladder, you go up stairs, and you go to his deck. He has a chair out there and has a shooting rail. Then you go inside the thing, and he has his computer and his Wi-Fi and his heater and his microwave. And he's got solar generator on the top of his office. And so during hunting season, somebody calls and says, yeah, I'm in the office, and if I hang the phone up real quick, that means I got to go shoot a deer or something. It's just a riot. But his thing is, he doesn't have bunks in there. He just has his office. And literally, his office during deer season is his office is like your friend's house. It's an office on stilts.
I need an office like that.
I thought about building something like that. I've been thinking about it very, aggressively, and I think one of the things I want to implement is a zip line into it.
Oh,
that way there's no scent going in.
There you go. That's Will for you. He's always worried about scent elimination. Zip lines to his tree stand. I like it.
How about that?
Well,
it's pretty hilly, and we have the Appalachian Mountains, so it'd be cool to, have a stand that goes down and zip line into it.
Yeah, then you got to put a cable system to pull yourself out, and you got to keep the wheels greased so it doesn't make sound, because deer know when you get out of your truck. At Eddie's farm, so the deer know when I park in his yard and gently close the door.
Yeah, they know coming.
They know that. They know it. And my stand's 300 yards away. They know it. I mean,
you got slam the door, fool them.
No, don't slam the door. I mean, I have trail cameras that they're in the field when I arrive at 5:45, whatever. And by the time I get near the 100 yards upwind or downwind, they're gone. They can't hear me, can't see me, can't smell me, and they're gone. Why is that?
They just know. It's one of those things. They probably checked the calendar. They knew opening day was coming, and they just get out of Dodge. No, it's amazing. The brain of a whitetail. I guess they say it's small, but I disagree.
No, they're survivalists. I mean,
yeah, they've been doing it as long as we've been trying to track them. So
yeah, but you think about this, and I think about Pennsylvania, and help me out with this. Okay, because you're hunting not mature deer, so I'm going to call them immature deer. Nobody got pissed at me, but they're immature deer. But they still know at 6:01 on the day after Thanksgiving, their world's going to erupt. They know it. So how do you ever shoot one of those suckers?
It's not easy. I mean, if you can consistently harvest a deer each year, I think actually you're doing pretty good. But if you could also do that, and hold out for that more mature deer, and a more mature Pennsylvania deer is going to end up being a 2.5, 3.5-year-old deer. It's rare, and you need a pretty substantial piece of property that you're managing to get something in the 4.5 and above range, in my opinion.
You can. I mean, you can get in as long as you're the common denominator. It's the same as it is out west. If you're in the woods, you're gonna stumble into something. I mean, blind squirrel finds a nut. So it's gonna happen. Your opportunities might be, you might get 1 or 2, 3 a season. And you gotta be in the place to capitalize. But the trophy is really that, we say it all the time, it's in the eye of the beholder, and the less meat, if I don't have a lot of meat in my freezer, I'm not going to be as picky, But if my freezer's full, then, I'm going to hold out a little bit more.
Yeah.
So
if I was going to offer a suggestion, what's the best way to get one? I would probably say archery season. If you can get out there, pattern those deer in the summertime, know where they're going to be at, obviously find a food source, find the bedding area, and get between them. And then after that, once the rut kicks in, that's when, luck starts working to your advantage. Of course, there are things you can do, trying to pattern the bigger buck, and then figure out what their cruising areas would be. Find little pinch points and funnels,
rub lines, all kinds of.
There's definitely ways to do it. Luck doesn't hurt, though.
Yeah.
Well, you said something. I think it was Will. If you're in the forest, if you're in the woods, and it's true in business, half the battle or more is just showing up. Your thoughts?
Absolutely.
Yep. I've said that to quite a number of people. Can't kill them from the couch.
Well, the office we can kill them. We just open the windows.
That's true. You have proven me wrong.
Yeah, we're trying to be up in our game right after this podcast.
That's the other nice thing about having 8 guys on the podcast is when Will gets an idea like this, that he's going to build himself an office. He's got 7 sometimes willing volunteers.
No, but with the tools and in Wisconsin, I mean, deer and deer hunting started off in the 70s. I think it's 60s to 70s. The stump sitters, and if you read Deer and Deer Hunting, Dan Smith over there, and he keeps the tradition alive. But you can't believe the school buses on stilts, and everybody just stays in the school bus, and they open the windows and shoot their deer because they're on a funnel and pinch point. And when you have 500,000 people, and we used to drive the crap out of it. We don't drive so much anymore. We drive for the kids, but that's about it. But, a school bus, and how they ever got up there, I have no idea. They had to build the ramp system, obviously. But they get it up there, and, they get the Packer game going, and they got the kibasa and the brats and the beer and the euchre. And, I mean, they go in there for three days and shoot some deer and drink some beer.
It's crazy the different types of hunting and ways to hunt. Hunting in the east is completely different from hunting in the west, the western part of the state and the eastern part of the state. I mean, so you have the rural hunting in the east, and I was last year. I took a doe in archery, first day of archery season, and we were. You're legally away from like the houses and things like that, but I mean you can see and hear everything.
That's suburban deer hunting for you.
Bike paths and different. It's crazy to me, and deer they're so used to normal traffic patterns that like anything that deviates from the hustle and bustle, that's what freaks them out.
That's a great example. Like you were saying, just slam your door is what you were trying to suggest to them. And Bruce, that would be a situation where you would be better off trying to slam your door, because when you try to sneak and go slow and be quiet, that's what's going to tip off those suburban deer.
Yeah.
I mean,
and Eddie's in the, he has cows, so every day of his life, 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. or whatever. And so he's always banging stuff, and the dog's barking, and he's going from here, and he's got the manure spread, so they're used to the noise. And there's probably a lot more thinking about it, because I'm saying, I got to be stealthy and stuff. I should just make just a whole mess of racket. Actually, what I should do is forget the ATV, forget my pickup truck, just get in his tractor and say, Eddie, okay, I'm going to get in this tractor, and I'm going to go to my blind, and so walk out, after you finish the cows, and take your tractor back.
There's definitely some validity to that idea. I mean,
I've cow back there.
You ever tried to ride a cow?
Ride a cow.
No. We're digressing.
But there's a lot of times that farm equipment can be used to your advantage. I mean, I actually on that piece of property that I usually save for the rut, I've had to call the guy that lives there and have him drive his tractor back to pick me up, because I couldn't get out of the tree. I was surrounded by deer, and I didn't want to blow my spot.
Right.
So I'm like, drive your tractor down, because they're used to him, at any given moment in time, he could drive that tractor around. Didn't bother the deer at all. I actually watched them just, as soon as he fired it up, I could hear him about 300-400 yards away. As soon as he started down the lane, the lights are coming and stuff, and the deer are just slowly working their way away. Didn't bother him at all.
Yeah.
But if I would have started down out of that tree stand, boy, just one little, and that's it.
Yeah.
There they go.
That was a snort wheeze.
Yeah. Those I like hearing. That's good stuff.
My ears perked up when you did that, Bruce.
He started lip curling.
Oh, so anyway, okay. So here's something I learned hunting in Iowa, and so Iowa Trophy Whitetail Outfitters, Judd Cooney, Sherry Elborough. Okay, you do not walk any place on their properties. You get in the farm truck. You get in a beater. No ATVs. No anything. You get in the farm truck.
Yep.
And they drop you off at the base of your tree. You go in the back of the pickup. All your stuff's in the back. And they get out and they jump in the back. You don't even touch the ground. And so then you're back at the pickup, and who's ever taking you out climbs up the thing, hooks up stuff, hauling it up, haven't touched the ground, haul it down. And so then you climb up after you're going to stay in a tree all day. So then they come down, then they slip back in the truck and then drop off the next guy. And then they go and, watch us for the day. So where they're in, not cell phone, but Motorola radios. So they keep track of you. You cannot get out of your stand. If you have to go, nature calls, you call them, they'll come pick you up in the truck, and that stand's done for the day. This is how, but when I was there were 6 guys. Biggest was 192, and I shot the smallest, call it 135. Whew. Six guys. Everybody had about 140s, 150s, 160s. Mine was a run. It's a 10-point run, and there was such a pretty deer came out to the bean field. They're talking to me in the radio saying, it's a nice 10-pointer, but boom!
I'll show you how nice he is. Up close.
And he's the prettiest deer I've ever killed. And from the side you go, you look from the front, you go, oh my goodness. His brow tines are 6 inches long, and that's what I saw the first thing. And I shouldn't have shot him. He was only 2.5 years old, but he would have been a booner. There's no question about it. He had the frame at 2.5 years old. He had a frame to, his brow tines were 6 inches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't tempt a PA boy with a deer like that.
Well, you couldn't tempt the old guy either. He was such a pretty deer.
That's what I'm saying. I hear you.
Kaboom!
Shoot what you want to shoot. Someone says we're going to shoot on 3. You shoot on 2.
1. Oh, this is so much fun. But okay, in all seriousness, and people, we're cutting up, we're having a great time, but in all seriousness, become a stealth approach to your tree stand. Do it differently. When you walk to your tree stand, 3 steps and stop. Why? Because that's how a deer walks. A deer doesn't go walking down the mall and I'm hanging out with my bros. No, they go walk, walk, walk. What's happening? Walk, walk, walk. And it might take them a while to go 100 yards, 200 yards. Us, we got our backpacks, we're hyped up, we got everything. We got to get to our stand so we can get up on the stand and then wait all day. And the deer we wanted to kill was no more than 100 yards from us. He goes, oh, here comes Bruce again. Oh, the same game. Oh, shit. You ever learn? I really wanted to eat that today, but I'm out of here.
Yeah, I'll go the other way. Yeah, that's one thing I think people do struggle with and I do it. I know I catch myself doing it as it's happening is, you get there and you try to make sure you give yourself enough time, and you get there and now it's like, okay, the quicker I get to my stand, the quicker the woods will be quiet.
Right.
And it's just this mental game that you have to play with yourself. It's like, no, that's not the way to do it. Sprinting through the woods to get to my tree stand is not going to keep the woods quieter.
Nope. And you think about the stealth approach that they use at Iowa Trophy Whitetail Outfitters. And, I got to plug the heck out of them because they taught me so much just by saying, okay, Bruce, if you leave your stand and you don't radio in, that's strike 1. The next time you do that, you're leaving and we're not going to give you a refund. That's how serious they are about it.
Wow.
But, okay, how many guys killed deer?
Yeah.
What was the biggest deer? What was the smallest deer?
Seems to be working.
Yeah. I mean, do you see deer all the time? No. Does Mr. Wonderful walk in? They killed the 192. They had never had him on trail camera, and he just showed up. He walked into the guy. The guy said he could have killed him at 20 yards, at 10 yards. He was walking right into this borascus and turnips and stuff, and he just came like he was on a string, and the guy neck shot him with a muzzleloader. Boom. Didn't move. Didn't flinch. Boom. Good hunter, obviously, but they had never seen that deer in 5,000 acres with 6 hunters. They start in they start archery season, so they're starting hunting with the trail cameras all year round. August they get serious and they start patterning, blah blah blah. They had never seen this deer. Crazy luck. Did he?
Well,
get,
if you got the space,
Yeah.
And honestly, to go back to the Pennsylvania thing, it's like we're not going to have opportunities like that. 5,000 acres where we can only hunt it with just 6 people. That type of situation is completely
yeah, and it's different parcels. They have the total operation 5,000 acres. They might have 10 parcels of 500 acres.
Right. It's not all contiguous, run property, but it's not a reality for the majority of hunters, and I wouldn't even just say Pennsylvania hunters. The majority of hunters, it's not a reality for. But you can get the same quality of deer, managing a smaller parcel.
Yeah.
There's seed companies out there now that you can take. And you can throw it down in your back 40 and it'll work out for you. You can manage the herd. You would work with your neighbors, the QDMAs out there. There's a lot of opportunity for people to get their hands on the information that they need to be able to help manage the herd, manage the health of the herd. But ultimately, I mean, I'm not going to make any apologies for it.
Right.
Yes, I want a healthy herd, but guess what? I also want, as Bruce likes to say, those grips and grins. I want to grab a hold of that rack that I can't get my hands around the bases and just have that big cheesy look on my face and get that picture.
Right.
Yeah.
2D taxidermy.
A little 2D taxidermy. I like it.
Oh, this is fun. I'm having fun. Okay, so do you hunt with stick and a string, shotguns, rifles, muzzleloaders? How do you have to hunt the deer?
Yes. Is your answer.
Yes. Okay.
If they came up
All
with
the above.
a shot season, we would probably give it a go.
Addle.
No. And again, this goes back to the fact that there's 8 guys contributing on the podcast, and everybody has their own specialty or flavor or thing that they like to do more than the others. I myself, I guess I'm an archery guy. That's my thing. If I had an option, that would be it. I'd fill my tags every year in archery season. Of course, the deer don't always play by my rules, so sometimes I have to break out the rifles.
Yes.
But
yeah. I tend to do archery as well, and that's what I love.
I'll tell you what though, Sammy P.
Muzzleloader.
Muzzleloader? I was thinking just because he's such a long range guy.
The general? No,
Yeah.
he'll do it. He does anything, but like muzzleloader.
Muzzleloader's his thing.
I mean, I've seen crazy shots with the muzzleloader from him. But I mean, it's all, like you said, it's all across the board. I mean, we're out. So we have an ongoing kind of joke between us is like, and there's nothing wrong with it, but like if you can only get out 1 or 2 days a year, the first day of rifle, first weekend of rifle, that's awesome. I mean, good. But like we're out all the time. I mean, if you follow us on Instagram, we're hardly ever not hunting. At least, one of us is always in the woods or fishing. And so it's kind of like, yeah, you hunted, you hunted one day. That's cute, But you got out, you got out first weekend. That's nice.
Yeah.
But no, yeah. I mean, it's hard. Like you said, if you can't be, that's the only real common denominator for our success is we're out. We're pursuing, and and when I can't get out, I'm okay, because I feel blessed that I can get out more than others and this and that. But I'm not killing when I'm not out.
Yeah. I've got 3 kids now that are all hunting age. I mean, my youngest is 9, which isn't officially hunting age. She can't be a licensed hunter, but I can still get my mentored youth tag. One weapon between us, but we can go out. I got a crossbow for the kids a number of years back. My son's been successful with it. My oldest daughter, who's now 15, when she was 10, I took her out, and on the last day of rifle season that year, she dropped a buck bigger than anything I've got yet. It was the first time that I was at that particular taxidermist, and she was kind enough to let me know that it's because of her that we were there. It was not because of me. So, there's it's just good.
And so you took that like a man, and you got dusted by your own daughter. And
Oh yeah. Her favorite part of that story though is because again at that time she was a mentored youth hunter, so one weapon between us. She couldn't carry her own gun. We were in the stand, and it was just before dark. A couple of doe come running through, and here comes this buck, stops in the middle of them, and she put a perfect shot on this buck at completely broadside, just under 50 yards. I knew she smoked him. The problem was, this was, again, the same little piece of private ground that I've been telling you about. But it just so happened that we were on the backmost corner of this property, and we were no more than 20 yards off the property line. And I saw others going in behind us, and I knew if that buck made it across that creek behind us to those guys, they weren't going to stop, right? So if it makes it back there, and that's one of the things about Pennsylvania, sort of pretty much where it drops is who gets it. It doesn't matter how great your shot was. Somebody else puts it down, that's pretty much their deer.
That's how it works.
Arguments could be made.
Oh, there's, and unfortunately, arguments do happen. I was my deer. This is that. Look at that. It's on my property. This is that. It goes. No one's. You shouldn't be that hard up for the deer to risk any kind of harm or injury to, but unfortunately,
it happens.
It happens. And
I would say, especially in this case, like, nobody's going to take a deer from a kid.
Hopefully. Yeah.
I would hope. But again, in my mind at the time, I wasn't having any of it, right? So as soon as she put this perfect shot on this deer, I was literally grabbing the rifle out of her hand, as the deer is not really stumbling at that point, but running almost out of my line of sight. And I quick pulled up the rifle, and I had racked another round in. It was a lever action 30-30. I put another round in, and I squeezed off, and I saw this deer just nosedive into the brush. And I'm like, nice. Okay. Now we don't have to worry about it. And as soon as I saw the deer diving, I immediately felt bad. I'm like, I really wish I didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
Like, now she's going to be like, well, maybe I didn't get it, blah, blah, blah. Well, her favorite part of her entire story of her first buck is that at the end of the story, there's only one hole in that deer. I completely missed.
Yes! Yes, there is justice. See.
Yeah. And I mean, I know she hit it because I watched that tuft of hair and that big old mule kick on it, and
he was dead on his feet.
Oh yeah, he probably only went 5 yards, but in my mind, everything was in slow motion.
Sure.
And I was just immediately like, oh my God, he's going to keep running. So, all in one smooth motion, I grab the rifle, rack the round in, pull it up to my shoulder, squeeze off, and completely miss.
Yeah. And Ryan has a military background, so he's not a stranger to
stuff happens.
Quick discharge.
Oops.
Yeah.
Oops. Oh, that's great story. And so is the buck hanging in her bedroom?
No, and not that it couldn't, but she decided that we took that up to our family cabin.
That's great.
Up near Penn State College, Pennsylvania, and it's hanging up there. And she will very quickly let anyone who asks know, yes, indeed, that is my deer, and yes, indeed, it's bigger than anything my daddy's ever killed.
Sign some autographs.
Hey, folks, you can tell we're kind of all over the place today, but we're having so much fun with Rut and River Pursuit podcast. Ryan and Will, it's just a good day because guys, we're just sitting around, at the kitchen table in the cabin and having a beverage and eating a brat or whatever, and we're talking about things that we love. We love what we do. In the tradition, the hunting tradition, and our lifestyle, and there's millions of people out there that don't get this. Will never listen to this show. Would look at us crosswise and inside out, and you can't figure it out. But there's something about guys getting together and gals, and you start talking about hunting, and stories just flow, and it makes it fun. You're a guy slut?
Yeah. That's something that we put at the forefront. We call our podcast the Sonic Campfire, and we try not to get too technical. We actually have a lot of listeners that don't hunt, but love to just kind of like look in on our lifestyle. Yep. And, we might be, in the community of hunting, we might just be regular dudes, but, at work, we might be the best hunters they know. And so there's something for everybody.
Well, I am.
I mean, you're, yes.
Yeah. Humble, too.
Just don't have daughter.
Yeah. Just had to throw that out, yeah.
Yeah, until he hunts with his daughter or fishes with his littlest, youngest.
Oh, yeah, she's the fisherman.
Yeah, but that's something that we love to we tell those stories as if we're buddies and we're all friends, and And that's the thing. I mean, I like to, some of us are really proficient at, we call Ryan the bow doctor because he's he's worked in a bow shop for a long time, and you can talk T6 aluminum and blazer vanes and blah 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 blah, and people, a lot of people are going to glaze over, but we're going to try and make it fun and make it, make Pennsylvania sexy again.
That's our plan. And I love the tagline that we've got going right now, which is let our highs and lows inspire you to take to the outdoors. Because you're right in the fact that not everybody who listens is currently an outdoors person, I guess is the politically correct to say that. But, maybe they aren't, but we give them a great insight as to why they might want to at least give it a go. Just because of how much fun we're having and how passionate we are about it. And it comes across. There's no denying the fact that everybody that is on the podcast, everyone we talk to while we're on the podcast, we're all just passionate is the best word I can come up with right now. Yeah. Obsessed is another one.
It comes, it's a blessing and a curse, Bruce. Like you said, I mean, sometimes we jump down a rabbit hole. It's hard to stay on point, but at the end of the podcast, it always sounds great, and we're always smiling. So, I can't beat that.
Well, no, and I'm on your site right now. Passion for the outdoors is our way of life, and folks, we're not done yet, but I'll throw this in. That it is a way of life, and I've lived it. These guys are living it, and millions of other people live it. 1.2 million people go out hunting whitetails in Pennsylvania, and only 30 to 50% of them will kill anything or take home meat or harvest or however you want to say it, but it's a lifestyle that unites us as brothers. And
Absolutely.
Ted Nugent talks about it. We're all blood brothers, and he's serious as heck when he says that.
Oh, he means it.
He flat out means it. And,
and he's right. He's right.
Yeah. It makes it easy to share camp. If we have a lot of similar we're all kind of cut from the same mold and, similar mindsets and just, it's really easy, to go in, and I don't fret a lot of times when we are at camp somewhere else with with a guide or something like that you always end up with a real personal experience and quality contacts. Not that we're trying, it just happens.
Well, look at us. I mean, we found each other on social media, and will we connect someday face to face? I hope so, but odds are, they're not really good that'll ever happen. It might happen, but odds are it never will. But that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Absolutely has no bearing on anything.
Well, I mean, you hunt for 6 months out of the year, so it's hard to get a hold of you.
Well, yeah. Yeah, so
I'm gonna come visit him in his.
Your point?
Office.
What's your point?
I'm gonna need to make an appointment in the office then.
What's your point? Yeah, that's on KO Farms. A good friend of mine. We've known each other actually since the 70s. And, he did pretty well for himself, and he owns 500 acres on a little lake up. The lake isn't that big, and so he's got everything. He's got ridges, he's got swamps, he's got timber, he's got thickets, he's got everything. And we only shoot big deer on this thing, and I've never shot a deer yet on this farm.
Yeah,
I've never shot a deer on this farm.
Apparently, you don't go there for the deer; it's the friendship and the.
Oh yeah.
What we're saying.
He's a great walleye fisherman, but if the ice is not, if the ice hasn't formed yet, we'll go walleye fishing, and then there's a couple of islands that the bucks will swim to.
Oh,
it's interesting. It's interesting.
Talk about a pinch point.
Yeah.
It never stops, and like we said in the warm up, people look at me and they go, "No way," and I go, "Yeah." I usually say, "Yeah, it's Yahweh," but and they just cross over again. They just, "Who are you? Are you on drugs?" And I said, "No, I'm not into Colorado's finest."
You're on Wilderness Athlete.
Oh, I'm all over. Hey, wait a minute. Jesse Paulson, thanks for the shout out. Wilderness Athlete. They're getting me back in mountain shape.
I see that.
2016, I had a total hip replacement, and I got 2 pins in my right shoulder. And I hunted 22 days with the shoulder that didn't want to work. And fortunately, I hunt with a crossbow. Came off the mountain, went and had surgery. So they're putting me back together so I can get back out there. But Wilderness Athlete, Jesse Paulson, and it's just a sweetheart guy, and the guy I'm doing all my workouts with is Jeremy Kerber of Fit to Hunt. So there's 2 shout outs for you guys, and they're trying to put the old guy back together again. So thanks for saying William Lozeth.
Humpty Dumpty.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's good.
If we ever do get together, most of us are actually healthcare professionals. So, a couple X-ray techs, and I put in pacemakers and.
Great. I don't want to get around you. I got all the parts I need. I can't even go through. Forget about my concealed carry. My hips gotta light up.
Uncle Buck's a critical care nurse. I mean, so by trade. So,
great.
we got you covered, bud. We'll keep.
Oh, thank you.
We'll keep.
I appreciate that, folks. I don't know. What do you want to wrap up with something? Tell me a story, and then we're gonna wrap this thing up because we're getting down the road.
I don't have a story as much as just if you're hearing this and you just keep listening to Bruce. He's doing great things. I love listening to him. He's always pursuing just the good in people, and he has a way of extracting that, and that's the thing that that we can aspire to on our podcast, is to just bring out the good side of life and hunting, and there's more that you can't have one without the other. This is life. This is just how it is. This is what we do, and so that being no real stories here, just we tell one every week on our podcast.
Yeah, we're always up to something. We spend a good bit of time at the beginning of each episode just talking about what's new, because we're a weekly podcast, and you figure you got 8 guys who love the outdoors that haven't talked to each other. Well, no, that's not true, because we talk to each other a lot on a very regular basis. But necessarily in front of the microphones, we haven't really talked in a week. So you figure 8 guys in a week's time. There's a lot of what's new from week to week.
Oh my goodness, yeah, for sure.
But what
go ahead.
Will was saying, I was just gonna reiterate that fact that keep listening to Bruce. It's been great, and he's doing good work, good stuff.